You're listening to Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast. Two friends since peeling open the plastic case on a VHS tape was the original ASMR. Now dads reliving the Disney movies we grew up on with our own kids. I'm JB Waggoner.
And I'm Eddie Ferguson. And on today's episode, we first want to wish you a happy World Princess Week as we look back on our journey of watching every Disney movie from 1988 to 2005. JB, can you believe we have accomplished such a feat, such a grand endeavor that we embarked upon that very few would be able to complete? But here we are, by my tally, 104 movies.
Wow.
Which is a lot. This is episode 123 of the podcast.
Yes.
And if we average just an hour and 45 minutes on each of those movies, that's over 182 hours watching movies.
I'm just shook.
182 hours.
That's not the math I wanted you to do.
Just so you know, that is a week and a day. What, like eight and a half days worth of doing nothing but watching movies. Now, mind you, we've spread that out over 3 years?
We also had
3 years.
We had 20 episodes of other content then in there too, of new shows coming out, new movies for Disney coming out. Special one-off episodes just like this one, plus some breaks here and there of vacations, and we had 2 children born,
babies
in the same time. We are a month shy of being at 3 years to do this thing. I don't know how long I thought it was going to take to do this. 3 years kind of sounds right. I don't know about you. Like we wouldn't have. I don't think we could have done it that much faster than the way that we did it.
No, it gave us time to digest, to process, to enjoy, to just take it all in, right? And I gotta say, shout outs to our wives, first and foremost, for letting us we named the podcast after them.
They should feel honored.
They joined us. They joined us for 2 episodes that I think were some of the best content that we put out here. And not least of all, is they let us talk to each other for 2 hours a week and watch all of these movies.
Maybe it says more about their willingness to want to not talk to us, that they were like, please go talk to someone else about this because I'm tired of hearing about it. Please and thank you.
But they turn around and listen to us talk to each other. So sometimes. I don't know what that says about all of that.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes, but for the most part.
So yeah. Eddie, you had the idea. Of last time we did this, we were going to actually sit down and rank our top 4, our Mount Rushmore of live action and animated films kind of separately. So 8 films that we loved from the 90s. So I said, hey, let's do the same thing for the 2000s. Let's just do that. And you said you had a better idea to rank the top 10 of all of this series, of everything that we've done. Force my hand a little bit. I had to go back and drudge that old one back up and re-rank everything in there. I spent way too much time on this.
Well, and mind you, it's top 10 animated and then top 10 live action.
It's top 20.
So we're talking the top 20. We're talking the top 20 here. Before we dive into that, I want to give a shout out to the 12 movies that we both gave a 5 to. These are the 12 movies that got double 5s, which I was surprised. Out of 104 movies, only 12 of them got that rating.
The perfect rating.
So really only about 11% there, right? Those movies are, just to rattle them off quickly, the 12 movies that we gave double fives to were The Rescuers Down Under, Beauty and the Beast, Newsies, Toy Story 1 and 2, Remember the Titans, The Princess Diaries, Finding Nemo, Pirates of the Caribbean, Miracle, National Treasure, and The Lion King.
That seems about right.
Quick observations hearing that?
So 12 movies out of 108. Is that what you said? 108 movies?
104. We watched 104 movies.
Okay, so slightly better. That sounds about right. Can't be that many movies. Now, there are some movies that I believe you gave a 5 gummy worm rating to, but I did not. So there is a couple ones where I was a little bit more of a sad Sally, negative Nancy on a couple of the films that I think you would easily have inside of the top. But I'm not shocked by that. I am interested. I believe more of those. Did more of those come? I think more animated ones happened in the 90s and a couple more live action happened in the 2000s. I think that will also be, you'll see that on my own ratings that I have in here.
Good observation. That was mine as well, that you definitely saw the 90s were stronger in animation. The 2000s were stronger in live action than they were in animation. Which I think I'm not surprised by that, but I don't know if I would have clearly put that together beforehand, before kind of going through all of that. So, yeah. Should we jump in, do our top 10 of each, and then afterwards maybe share with the listeners life lessons learned along the way of these many, many hours, weeks, and years spent digesting Disney movies?
I think we're going to have a lot of life lessons that they can actually put into practice in their everyday life. I think we got some really good, actionable things that they can go, hey, honey, we need to start doing this because of what JB and Eddie brought to us from the movies of our childhood. I know that's the way I feel. I've been acting upon many of the lessons that we've done. So I think our listeners are going to get some of that as well. That's just my guess, but.
So I say we start with live action and go from 10 to 1 back and forth.
Okay. Give me your number 10.
What do you say? Does that sound good?
Give me your number 10, Eddie.
My number 10 live action was our namesake, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. This was a good nostalgic and forgot how much I really loved it as a kid. It holds up for me. So I gave it number 10.
It's a good one. It mine's up a little bit higher, but yes, that was surprising how many feelings I got rewatching that one. So don't hate that. I'm glad it's in your top 10, Eddie. My number 10, and I put 2 here, and I'm going to make a decision right here in the moment which one I'm going with. I'm going to have to go with Muppet Treasure Island. So Muppet Treasure Island, it's one of my wife's favorites. It's one of her favorite live action ones. It's just a fun movie, and the cast is amazing. It's one of the best Muppet movies that are out there. And you know what? You get our very favorite actor to lead this thing, Tim Curry. It's hard to leave him off the list, looking at all several of the films that he was in for this era. It's just hard to leave him off. So that's why I'm going to go with Muppet Treasure Island for number 10.
Did not make my list. It would have been the number 11. It was the one that I was kind of floating there a little bit. I know, which is really hard because it's so good. It was a tough decision.
My wife would be very upset with you right now, but it's okay.
I know. My number 9 is The Rocketeer.
Knew that was going to happen somewhere. I love
this movie. I'm surprised it's this low, to be honest with you, but it is what it is. Yes, just a family favorite. This is one that my whole family comes together.
There must be a lot of films above this then, like that come from the 2000s then, because you had it number 4. I'm very interested to see what the rest of your list is then. Okay. My number 9 is a very surprise to me at how great of a film it was. But I had a lot of people in my corner saying, I can't wait till you review this one. And it's The Princess Diaries. So good. Such a great film. I was so excited when I watched this. But there's just something about Anne Hathaway. Like, she just did a phenomenal job playing that character. So that is, and plus your favorite actress of all time is also right up in there as well. So the two of them combined at Princess Diaries, that's why it's up there that high for me.
I'm shocked it's that low. It is much higher for me. Ooh. Just to forewarn you.
That's what your shocked face was I can't believe JB.
That was my shocked face.
Ooh. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Number 8 for me is D2 Mighty Ducks. This kind of is a placeholder for all the Mighty Ducks, if I'm honest with you. I love that series, that trilogy. But for me, this has got D2 is my favorite. I think we mentioned this as we reviewed
the
them.
Olympics.
I have so many snow day memories of watching D2 in that. So it is number 8 for me.
I also went the route of just choosing one Mighty Ducks film, which you shall see here in a little bit. But my number 8 is Nicolas Cage and National Treasure. Love that film.
Again, so low.
So low? I know. I'm sorry, Eddie. I put it this low because as fun as it is, as great as it is, it's still a little campy. I think there's some better films that I like more or have more nostalgia for from my childhood. So it is still epic and it is still amazing. But I think there are better, and probably it's just because it's Nicolas Cage and I feel bad making him that high on my list because his acting, a little questionable. So that's why National Treasure is on my list, but it's a little bit lower on this list maybe than I think that you have it. So they're there.
My number 7 is, I think, my mom's favorite on this list. Iron Will.
Ooh.
I love this movie. I think this is an underrated Disney film. Most people even forget that Disney made it or that it exists out there. And I think that's so sad because it is such a good story, such a compelling story. Great. Yeah, like I said, great story, but also like great acting, fun score all along the line. Like checks every box for me. So in the number 7 slot for me is Iron Will.
Eddie, you remember that I actually too enjoyed that film way more than I thought I would, being the dog and animal connoisseur that I am, that loves to be around animals all the time. And even I really enjoyed that film. My number 7 here is our namesake, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, with Rick Moranis. What a beautiful film. I love that film. It's hilarious. It still holds up today. Larger than life, or maybe smaller than life. I don't know what the right terminology would be, but it's the quintessential 90s kids movie. And I'm so glad that we got to revisit that and even name our podcast off after that.
What's crazy is we watched that almost 3 years ago. I feel like it's time to go back and rewatch
Dust it back
right?
off. Yep.
My number, well, we are. When I see you here in about 2 months, we're going to bust out the old VHS player and watch it, right? And that's
got to go find a VHS player, but yes.
My number 6 live action is National Treasure. I love this movie. And we decided to borrow upon a Waggoner family tradition. And this past 4th of July, we watched it again.
You did it, Eddie.
This is awesome. Going to be we have adapted your tradition there. So we really like both of the films. So I rated number 6, National Treasure.
See, Eddie, you were sitting here acting like shocked that I put it at number 8 when you had it at number 7. It wasn't that, or 6. I guess it was 2.
I had it at number 6.
I guess it was 2. Never mind. It was.
But I know how much you love it.
I do love it.
How much you loved it.
But to some degree, there is a lot of campiness to it where it's like, I love it for 4th of July, America, get out my jorts, get out my cutoff tees, burn my skin, go grilling. Like, that's why I love it. But thinking childhood and all the other aspects to this that we're kind of taking into effect, that's why it is there for me. But we're done talking about it. A movie for my number 6, which I have so many great memories of. I know every line of this film, and it has probably the greatest cast in all of the movies that we reviewed over the time. Can say that pretty proudly, is Angels in the Outfield. I love that movie so much heart, so many great moments, so many quotable moments, and an incredible cast with Danny Glover, Tony Danza, Christopher Lloyd, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, even someone like Matthew McConaughey, who has one freaking line in the entire movie, and he is even in this film. Even Adrian Brody. There's too many people to even count. So that's why my number 6 is Angels in the Outfield.
My number 5 is Remember the Titans.
Ooh.
This was a tight one. But with my number 4, but number 4 just kind of inched it out just a little bit more. Such a great movie. I think this is a classic example of good storytelling, but also highlighting something that we need to remember and learn about without compromising good characters, good story, great acting, great needle drops. Like, just listening to the soundtrack is amazing. The score is so good that when President Obama won the election, he walked out to the score to this movie. Let's just, that's how good it is. So yeah, number 5, Remember the Titans.
Very nice. Very nice. My number 5, I am going to go with Miracle. That was an incredible film. Loved it. That ending scene was some of the best editing just in general that I've seen. It was top notch. That whole ending scenario was just so good. Them skating around the ice and stuff as they're just like trying to just finish out the game. I don't know why I had waited so long of my life to watch that film. I don't know what was waiting, because I like sports movies and it hit all of the sports movie tropes. But it was great. It was awesome. I really felt like I learned as well as just experienced that world at that time. And so that's why I'm going with Miracle for my number 5.
I'm going to keep on going with you there. I made it my number 4. It barely inched out. Remember the Titans for me. All the reasons you listed. I think it captures the action of the sport so well. Just kind of puts you right into it. I think they made a great decision of like casting hockey players and then teaching them how to act. Like, it comes out on the screen so well.
Yep.
But also Kurt Russell is phenomenal.
So yeah.
So good. Honestly, like, I look back on it and I go like, maybe even like an Oscar-worthy performance. I'd give that to Denzel Washington and Remember the Titans as well. I think both of those coaching roles they performed them so wonderfully. Miracle just kind of inches it out a bit for me, because you get all the whole, USA pride in there. You get a little choked up. Nothing like the US of A beating out the Soviets. Or the bad red guys, as Lewis likes to call them.
The bad red guys.
So Miracle is my number 4.
Oh man, Eddie, I'm having a difficult time making a decision here for my 3 and 4. It's a real close game for me, but I'm going to go, my nostalgia is going to win out. I'm going to save my 3 for the next one, but number 4 is going to be Pirates of the Caribbean for me. Pirates of the Caribbean, it's everything you want in going to the movie theater and just experiencing a large live action film. Great characters, like iconic created characters here. You've got, with Johnny Depp, it completely transformed his career, you'd probably say. And it's just there's so many layers to it and so many moving parts that are constantly evolving throughout the film, and people changing sides and then double crossing and triple crossing other people. The fun with the undead, the undead sailors and pirates, like it started its own genre basically of rides turning into films that actually made money, and it started a whole franchise. So I'm going to go with number 4 being Pirates of the Caribbean.
I'll save mine for later because it will return on my list. Number 3, you've already mentioned this, and I'm shocked that you put it so low, because for me, number 3 is The Princess Diaries. I love this movie. I think it is funny. I think it is clever. And yes, you are right. It stars the greatest actress that the world has ever known, the one and only Dame Julie Andrews. I could watch this movie like tonight. Like anytime Sarah wants to be like, hey, you want to watch Princess Diaries? Yes, let's do that. You know, I'll pop it on. It's got, it's for me, it's fun. Like this, it's escapism. It's kind of fairy tale, but realistic. It just checks off. And it's a tad bit cheesy. Like I like a little cheesy, kind of a wholehearted cheesiness in there. And I'm okay with that. I like that a lot. So it ranked high for me. It's my number 3, Princess Diaries.
I'm sorry, Eddie, that I did that to Dame, to your Dame for you. I'm sorry about that.
You disappoint.
You disappointed me. My number 3, this is the hard one to choose between for Pirates of the Caribbean, but I went nostalgia for this, for why I gave it number 3, and I'm just going with the original Mighty Ducks. I know I talked about this with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and Angels in Outfield, but like, you just talk about a movie that just say the words Mighty Ducks and every millennial in the room will immediately go back to where they were watching these films. Just go quack, quack.
Exactly.
The flying V. It's quack, getting me emotional right now just thinking about it with Coach Bombay when he comes back in the final film of the third one. I'm going with the first one here because it is, you see such a massive change in Bombay throughout it. The change that he goes through. You got so many great moments of on the ice and flying around everywhere, either rollerblades and stuff. Like I just love this film. I love this series, and so that's why I kind of went with Mighty Ducks as my number 3.
It's a good one. My number 2 is probably the movie that I have watched the most on this list. Definitely the movie that I have sung the most out of any Disney movie. My number 2 is Newsies. This is everything. This is, let's just start with this. It's a musical starring all boys. Like this is what we wanted, right? Like we had to endure Cinderella and all of these other very, very girly musicals as high schoolers. What we would have done to have had the Newsies musical. It didn't come out on Broadway until we were well into college. But Newsies, I've sung, I could sing, I can belt, I can sing the different parts in some of these songs. I know it that well.
The accents.
Fun story. The accents. I mean, just top to bottom, I love this movie. And I think this is the movie more than any I can sit down and immediately become a 90s child again. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
And many of these I would say similar, like Mighty Ducks is very similar for me as well on that one. But there's something with Newsies, like I just go back in time to being a kid in the 1990s and watching Newsies. And even then forward, because I have distinct memories of high school, of college, of even after college, of being with a group of people who grew up in the 90s. And we all start singing, Seize the Day or Carrying the Banner, King of New York. Like it just boom comes out of you. And there's such great songs.
My number 2 is also
number 2, Newsies.
My number 2 is also Newsies, and it is for all of the music, and especially Christian Bale. Like all the music is iconic, memorable. There's not a bad song in here. Like you get some musicals or movies where you're just like, man, I could have lived without that. Namely, all of the Muppet Christmas Carol could be all thrown out for me. It was all bad.
No.
Got to start some fights on here. It's like a perfect musical in that sense of like all the numbers are iconically great. It's just so good. I love it. And I love it's in New York City. They run around. It's just kids loose on the town, trying to make their way in the world. The man going up against the man, the Hearst man. So it was, or Pulitzer. It's Pulitzer, right? That they're going up against. Yeah, that's right.
Pulitzer and Hertz. Yeah.
Pulitzer and Hertz. And the accents. I love the accents. So, and it's Kenny Ortega.
Have no fear. There you go. Brooklyn is here. It's Kenny Ortega. Yes, it's High School Musical. What? Oh yeah. Okay. Number 1, I'm putting Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl as number 1. I think this, big statement here, the quintessential best Disney live action movie that isn't a musical. For me, the best will always be Mary Poppins. There's just no
I was about to ask,
argument.
like, what is that movie? Okay, so this is all time.
Live action, yes.
This is all time.
Yeah, I'm like,
you're going farther outside of here.
I think Pirate. Yeah, but so just for all of this, it's an easy one for me, Pirates, because I think one, it captures a lot of Disney nostalgia in grabbing what is arguably like one of the best rides that Disney Imagineering has come up with, right? The only one that comes close to it is the Haunted Mansion, maybe really even beats the rides. I know. I like Pirates of the Caribbean, the ride, just a little bit more, but also love Haunted Mansion.
I thought you were saying the movie. I need to scratch what I just said.
No, I'm talking rides.
Okay, because I spoke too soon, and my wife now
save yourself now.
I need to just tell my wife right now, please put down your please put down your phone. Don't text message me right now with so much hatred. Just wait. I wasn't disparaging the Haunted Mansion ride. It was the movie I was disparaging. So,
well, now I'm going to get the text message of how dare you put Pirates of the Caribbean ride above Haunted Mansion the ride. It's slightly. It's just it's barely above it. But let's get back to the movie. Yes, like amazing characters, such a clever story. I think you hit on it with you don't even know exactly where it's going to go, whose allegiances are with who. This was groundbreaking for the time with a lot of the CG that was done with it, done really well. I think in the rewatch, I felt like it held up really well.
Yep.
And you can't talk about Pirates without talking about the score, right? I think my favorite Hans Zimmer quote is he said, Pirates of the Caribbean score is Led Zeppelin played by an orchestra.
Wow.
Like, yes. And that's what you feel like. I think it is the entry drug to what I love so much, which is movie scores that so many people will go to. Rewatchable, fun, adventurous, like just everything. And for me, it just hits that quintessential what I want a Disney live action movie to be.
So my number one,
Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl.
My number one is going to be the one that is obviously left off of my list up until this point, and it's Remember the Titans. It is a great film. Not just like a fun nostalgia. It is a great film, great one-liners, so energizing and so like captivating. And I'm watching, because I've got IMDb pulled up next to me, and I'm watching, just seeing Denzel Washington being his quintessential self in all of these films, and I'm already feeling intimidated by him in just the one-liners I'm seeing him deliver right now. It's incredible. It's amazing. Amazing cast. So deep. Even Hayden Panettiere's in this as like the little girl, like all the way that deep on the bench of here. Donald Faison, Will Patton, Wood Harris. Ryan Gosling, who just randomly plays. He's playing the 13th man in this. It's really incredible, and I just can't say enough about how much I love this film. The one-liners, that this is the movie every sports team, if they haven't watched it this year, needs to sit down and watch it together with their kids, with their players, because it's just so captivating. Like, gets you going. Like, put this on, then go out and win the championship. That's how I feel every time I watch it. So that is my number one. Remember the Titans.
There you go, everybody. There are our top 10 live action films from 1988 to 2005. Now, animated films. JB, I think you should lead us off here with your number 10 animated film.
Okay, my number 10, it was a honorary mentioned. The previous one, you're probably going to see, as my live action went heavy on the 2000s, this is going to go a little bit more heavy on the 90s. My number 10 is Hercules. Loved Hercules. So many great songs, so many great moments. The songs especially just like so catchy when they went like a more gospel sounding. It's a great story. It's just a great storyline. So, and great message. So I'm going to go with number 10 is Hercules.
My number 10 is The Incredibles. Brad Bird's entry into Pixar directing. I think The Incredibles is a fun, original. I think we need to remember, this was before superheroes were everywhere. So it was kind of a unique thing that we never would have, thought of. I think now we think of it as so, prolific. Is that the word? Just so common. But yeah, The Incredibles for me is my number 10.
My number 9 is going to be Aladdin. I think I feel like I was a little harsh on this film when I actually gave the review of it. I don't think I was like super over the moon on it. But when you're just talking about our Disney childhood, this is one of the first ones people talk about, and it's heavily because of Robin Williams and Jafar. The combination of those two just makes this movie soar, no pun intended. And it's heavily on having a great iconic villain and an amazing side character. I actually don't think that Aladdin and Jasmine's story themselves is as great as like Robin Williams and Jafar make this film. I think they elevate it a ton. And so that's why it's a little lower than maybe some people would have there. But my number 9 is Aladdin.
My number 9, cult classic, I think we can call it. Just barely didn't make the 90s. And that is The Emperor's New Groove. I think that this movie is hilarious, clever, kind of breaks the mold in what animated storytelling can be, and just chock filled with one-liners and just great comedic sequences. So my number 9 is The Emperor's New Groove.
My number 8 is the first Pixar film that's in my list. More to come. But number 8 for me is Finding Nemo. Such a beautiful film. touching, moving, all the way through an adventure as they try to find his son. But yeah, that's my first Pixar film, and definitely not the last one, but that's number 8, Finding Nemo.
My number 8 is also a Pixar film. I have a feeling it might be a lot higher on yours, but I'm giving it my number 8, and that is A Bug's Life. Ooh. This, honestly, for me, in our rewatching of all the movies, was I hate to say it, but like, yeah, a little bit of a surprise of kind of going, yeah, I forgot how much I loved this movie. And I have to tell you, watching all these movies through, most of them with our kids, this is one of the most popular ones that my kids ask to go back and watch. I mean, just even last week, Lewis was like, hey, can we watch A Bug's Life? Can we watch A Bug's Life? And I haven't done that yet with him. So we will probably be doing that this week. A fun, interesting story. It just captures such originality. I know this came out at the same time as like a DreamWorks movie, the same way, but this is just totally different and unique in that. To think of circus insects coming, like, there's just so much clever storytelling in all of this. And I also got to say, I love the unique world building. It feels authentic and real, even though we all know like bugs don't have civilizations or worlds like that. It just feels so real and believable. So my number 8 is A Bug's Life.
My number 7 is The Incredibles. We've watched it a few times recently, and my son got The Incredibles Lego game, like for Switch. So it's been on in our house, and we've been listening to the music and soundtrack when we go places, just kind of around. But it's great storytelling, great character development, great realistic scenarios where when he's trying to regain the glory days, and she's believing he's found a mistress, or he's cheating on him, he's having a midlife crisis. They play into that without it feeling like it still makes it very available for kids watching it. It doesn't feel like, oh, this is a old people getting old scenario. It's like, it's fully engaging and fun and witty, and that the scene when they are being chased through the woods is probably one of the greatest action sequences, let alone animated action sequences, that has ever been made. So my number 7 is The Incredibles.
My number 7, filled with lots of nostalgia, is Rescuers Down Under. I love this movie and loved it dearly as a kid as well. It holds up for me. There's just such a great sense of, again, adventure for a young boy. I think it's got a great villain. You've got just such, compelling sequences. It is beautiful as well. All around, I really, really love this movie. It's one we go back to a lot. My number 7 is Rescuers Down Under.
Well, after some technical difficulties where Eddie was unable to have any internet whatsoever, we are now having to continue our list the next day, a day later. So if we sound a little different, more perky, less perky, more awake, less awake, maybe even just dressed a little bit differently, Eddie's now got his Jungle Cruise shirt on. So he's emotionally more ramped up for this last his top 6 of animated.
In case those who are curious, it is my favorite Disney ride. In case you were ever curious, and I think I mentioned it in our Disney Tag episode.
I'm sure
Jungle
you did.
Cruise is my favorite.
Yep, I'm sure you did.
Yes.
So my number 6, you just said number 7 was Rescuers Down Under. That is also my number 6 right there. It's just one of the unsung heroes of the Disney animated period of that Disney decade. And by far some of the best moments. Not only is it just cinematic vistas, you're out in the middle of the wilderness, like all young boys just want to be out in the middle of the dangerous outback. But then you've got such great bad guys in McLeish and Joanna, the lizard, the whatever lizard thingy. Such great bad guys, and then like the real stakes of this kid's life that's in their hands, like all the way up until the end. I just can't say enough praise for this film, how much I love it.
That's a really good point. Like the stakes do feel real and high in that movie. Another thing that I had thought, you got to remember, Rescuers Down Under, Disney's first sequel. A lot of people forget about that. Disney never did sequels until they came to The Rescuers Down Under. That was the very first sequel. And I would say, I think it outshines the original.
That was going to be my.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love
my thought exactly too. It actually, I enjoy it a lot more than the original. So, yep. So that's my number. Yeah. That's my number 6.
My number 6 is Treasure Planet. I love this film. I know it is. It was for the longest time the like lowest performing Disney animated film at the box office until Stranger World. But Treasure Planet, for whatever, it just did not connect, did not do well. But it was, I'm forgetting their names, but the John Musker and what's the guy? You know who I'm talking about?
You're looking at me like I should know all of these people.
The directors, I mean, these are the guys who did Little Mermaid. They did Aladdin. They went on and did Princess and the Frog. Ron Clements. There we go. This was like their pet project. This is the Disney movie that they wanted to make for the longest time. And nobody, they got kind of sidetracked to this or that. And I love this. I think it is beautiful. Just the animation in it, I think it's got some great moments in it that feel cinematic. And then I love the source material in general. Like the book Treasure Island is one of my favorites. But I like how they adapted it, kind of the steampunk style to it a little bit. I know it's not for everybody, but it definitely clicks well for me. It's one of my favorites. That's why I put it as my number 6, Treasure Planet.
My number 5 is one that definitely ran to the top of my rankings after we started doing this walk through all of the movies from our childhood. It's one that I've said it's probably one of the single most iconic scores in the sense of it is the Pixar of all Pixar scores. Like if you hear this, you're like, this has to be a Pixar film, and that is A Bug's Life. Again, some great characters, some great moments. Love all of the cast of Bugs. It's just so much fun and witty, and it only being what their third ever film and second original film, because it was Toy Story 1 and Toy Story 2
it came out in between.
Did it? I keep on mixing that up. I don't know why I keep doing that.
Yeah. It was only their second film. It came out in between them.
That's right. But again, Kevin Spacey nails it as Hopper. Just so incredibly sinister.
Good villain.
But
Good villain.
the whole like you love Flick so much and you just want all the best things for him, and you're just rooting for him the entire time, and he's just doing all the dumb things, but he's got so much heart and soul that you just can't help but fall in love with him, with the characters,
with
all of the bugs, all the many bugs. It's hard to pick a favorite one. So that is why A Bug's Life is right up there near the top for me.
My number 5 is also a Pixar film. My number 5 is Finding Nemo. I love Finding Nemo. And I have to say, like, I enjoyed it before, but like now being a dad, like you definitely watch Finding Nemo from a different perspective. And like also like my kids love Finding Nemo so much. Like it's one of those movies that It's fun to sit down and watch with them. I also think it is a great overall story, but it's also very episodic. Like it's just got these great little beats and moments within it. So it kind of lends itself to, I mean, you can just kind of like pop it on, watch a little bit of it, and then turn it off. And it still is just as compelling and it pulls you in no matter what. Again, beautiful, great score, fun, interesting characters. Like there's just
shark bait.
I feel like it fires. It fires on all cylinders. Like it just hits everything. Yeah. Like, and then you've got the different environments of different fish where you are, you've got the tank fish, then you've got like the reef fish and then you've got the sharks, then you got the turtles. Like the way of capturing like what different groups of sea creatures, what their culture would be, like that is so inventive to me and so creative. I really, really enjoy this movie. And so it's strong top 5 for me. Number 5, Finding Nemo.
My next one is Monsters, Inc. Again, one of the top of all Pixar movies and insanely creative. I don't know where they got this idea for monsters in the closet that then learn to be good and learn to bring people joy at the very end. I just love that turn of it. I love all of the witty and like different. I love when they go to the length of, okay, if we're gonna have a monsters world, how can we imitate real life? How can we make them like walk in their shoes like a normal work day? It just makes it so fun and interesting. And they really honed this in with their first several films. The cast is amazing. The cast is great bad guys. We're gonna say the same things over and again. I think it's probably gonna come up later on in here as well. But some just great one-liners and just again, just a buddy film through and through with Sully, and just everybody in that cast. So I'm just loved it. Just love that film.
Billy Crystal cast alongside of John Goodman may be one of the best duos. I mean, of course you've got Tom Hanks and Tim Allen.
Yep.
These two, like that's such a great formula, putting the two together there. My number 4 is The Lion King. And what's funny is like, as I was working on my list, originally I had Lion King a little bit lower, but like as I just kept like rethinking and talking it through in my head, and kind of like Lion King just kept coming up and up and up and up and up. And I realized this is such a great story. Like, yes, it is Hamlet. But what's great is Disney is aware that this is a Shakespearean story. And I feel like they made it Shakespearean. Like this is animated Shakespeare. It's got grand vistas. It's got incredible actors and voice cast. Then you go and you're like, but it's a Disney musical movie. But how would we do this like Shakespearean? Well, let's bring in Elton John and Hans Zimmer. Like, talk about like dialing it up and making this again Shakespearean, just kind of like this grand, level. Every time I come back to this movie, it just rises in my opinion of it. Just so compelling, so good, and like we said, for me, it's got the best villain song in Be Prepared. I just absolutely love this movie. Number 4 for me is The Lion King.
I've been debating for my top 2 and 3. Been going back and forth on here. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to piggyback off of what you said about The Lion King. I'm going to make The Lion King my number 3 because I echo all of the same things that you're saying too. Great cast, great villains, great songs, a lot of great songs. Really hard to find anything in this movie to kind of nitpick about. And really, once you get up this high with like the best movies of our childhood, it's really hard. And I think an even bigger sign of how great it is by the fact of how much vitriol there is for the remake. When you go back, when you look at the remake and you just go, why did we need this? I think that shows you how legendary that this film is. And I love that I also love the story behind the film of they were struggling to figure out the story, decided to go with what if we make it like Hamlet, but made it its own thing? Because it doesn't scream Hamlet. It's still its own story, but they just kind of, that gives it that universal story arc to build off of. And then you get all the fun stuff with Rafiki, Timon, and Pumbaa, and just like there's so many great things in this, and so visual, such a beautiful, beautifully drawn and animated movie. And again, that's why when you go watch the live action, you're just like, I know this is realistic, but this doesn't hold a candle to what we experienced. So my number 3 is The Lion King.
If I can interject and just add like a little footnote here.
Sure. This is our podcast.
My kids are obsessed with The Lion Guard.
Yes, we've been watching that too.
And I am obsessed with The Lion Guard because of my kids. Like, it is such a clever, like when they first asked to watch it, I'm like, I don't know. Like, come on, like a TV spinoff of The Lion King. I don't know if this is going to be any good. Oh my goodness. And like, I'm bought into like the storyline and just kind of the world building that's there and connected everything. Yeah, Lion Guard. It's a sleeper, but it's good. My number 3, this is the, surprise, shocker, but Tarzan takes number 3 for me.
Been waiting for this, Eddie.
I love this movie. I love Tarzan so much. I love the score. Listen to it the most, like at the end of a year when, Apple Music gives me like my review of everything that I've listened to. There's always a Tarzan song that makes that kind of top 10 list in my music review. I remember this was one of the first movies that I watched like the making of and behind the scenes, like leading up prior to release, like just as I was getting interested in movies. There's a lot of like nostalgia for me. Like my mom and I, like I skipped school for a day. Like she called me in sick and we went and saw this movie in the theaters. Like there's just so many layers of why that I love this movie. I also think it's a timeless story. There's a reason why there are so many different versions of Tarzan and movies. It's just a great story and has just a theme of mine is I love adventure stories, right? And this is one of those, if not, kind of one of the greater ones. So Tarzan, I know not many this would even make the list. I'm befuddled by that. And it didn't
for me. That's our biggest contention, probably of this entire thing, is the fact that I did not like Tarzan, and you did.
And and it's different, like because it's like one of my favorite. Like
it's on your
it is
Mount
number
Rushmore.
3. I put it on top 3, and you're like, nah, doesn't even make the list. So, yeah, it's okay. I love you in spite of that.
Oh gosh. Well, here we go. Number 2. This is going to tell us a lot about the number 1 as well. But number 2 for me is gotta be. I had to pick a Toy Story film, and I know you're going to take the other one, so I might as well go with the original. Toy Story, because one, I usually tend to go for the original unless it's like Rescuers Down Under, where it's even better than the original, like by far. But this movie, I mean, it kind of broke our brains when it came out. Like, you can do this in an animated film. You can have these 3-dimensional characters, and it really, I mean, it shook the industry because they were only doing commercials and really low end things with it. and then you come out with this just pure story masterpiece with really compelling characters in this 3D world that we had just never ever seen before, and it's just a masterpiece in storytelling. So I love it. It's got a deep place in my heart. So that's why I put it at number 2.
My number 2, you are right there. You read me. It is Toy Story 2. Toy Story 2 is my favorite of the Toy Story films. But I think you are right. Like, just kind of the Toy Stories, at least the first 3, just kind of deserve a position unto their own. But for me, Toy Story 2 represents that. I think you are right. Like, when it came on the scene, the first one, and definitely with the second one, we just saw these incredible characters that their story, their emotion is so compelling. I can't think of too many animated films that prior to Pixar coming on the scene with Toy Story would make grown adults cry.
Yeah.
You know, and especially you see it displayed so well in Toy Story 2 with Jessie's song. You know, that this is just at another level. Like, we feel for these characters in a way that exactly. Well, and you get Sarah McLachlan, like, before the whole, you know, Humane Society commercials were a thing. Like, this was they saw it before they,
That's
you know.
funny.
But it yeah, and I also, like, I love Toy Story 2 because you get such a good group dynamic. Like, the whole group goes out on this big epic adventure. And it's also so self-aware. Like, you get so many great little bits in it. The whole play on Star Wars throughout this whole movie is just so enjoyable. Just so much fun and so enjoyable. Yeah, I mean, Toy Story revolutionized storytelling in general. And my favorite of those is Toy Story 2. So that is why it gets the number 2 slot for me.
So odds are that our number 1 animated film of this whole era is probably going to be the same movie, just looking at the ones that we kind of have left on our thing. And it's no shocker that Dinosaur is the movie that we're talking about here.
Yes.
Just kidding.
Yes.
Had to put a.
How did you know that that's what I was going to pick?
I had to at least give it a gentle nod of how much I loved that film way more than I thought I was going to. But
it'll come up. It's definitely in my underrated. Yeah.
So Beauty and the Beast. I again, just going back through this movie, these movies, and actually sitting and watching the films versus most of the time, just like my kids have it on and I'm doing other things. Yay, they're distracted, so I can do the thing I really want to do. Actually sitting down to review this and watching it, for me, this is my favorite narrative story arc of any character in all of these stories. The arc of Beast is just so good, so great. Where he starts to where he ends up, it's one of the best just stories in all of these films. I know some other ones might be turn and do some other little things differently, but I just really love that you could take a beast, make him basically lovable in the middle of this thing, and then just so heartbroken, as well as all the other things we talk about great cast, great voice cast. You got a amazingly, you just want to hate him so much with Gaston. Like, I think that definitely elevates this as well. Not just like a sinister bad guy, like a Scar, but like really a guy you want to punch, a guy with a punchable face.
It's arrogant. Yeah. It's just
so arrogant,
annoying.
so punchable, character, everything. Yeah. And I think
and we all know a Gaston, right? Like everyone's met that guy.
And if you don't know that
guy, exactly, you are that Gaston.
But you go. So why did you love this film, Eddie?
It's perfect. That's why. Like, I have I think as we reviewed it, I have no critiques to make of that movie. I still have none. I think it is a perfect film. I would say it is the best Disney animated film of all time, period. I can't think of anyone that I would kind of start, maybe, yeah, I mean, there's others that are amazing that would definitely, but again, the only animated film ever to be nominated for Best Picture. Now, mind you, this is before we had the category of Best Animated Film, but Best, it was the first. And I think that still holds, right? The only one to ever be nominated.
I think so.
Yeah. Music, story, characters, you name it. Like the voice actors in this are amazing. My second favorite actress of all time, and Angela Lansbury, is in this movie. She sings the title song in the first take. Come on. Like, that's incredible. So good. This is, and I think what I love about this movie so much is it is a classic, timeless fairy tale, but it has depth to it, right? Like we have a strong female lead, but like she isn't weakened because she also pursues love. And I love and seeing how love can make you better. Love is not like, it's not cheap. It is actually a beautiful, and when it is given unconditionally and sacrificially, like it helps the other person, become better. There's just such deep, wonderful themes in that film. And then, like you've got a villain who isn't complicated or, you're not trying to like empathize. Like he's just an arrogant jerk. And there are just those people in the world. And like, it's just good to have those sometimes where you're just like, yes, I can't stand that guy, or whatever. This just is such a good movie. And it grabs me from the beginning, holds till the end. Beauty and the Beast, best number one. There wasn't a doubt in my mind that this is the best movie, Disney animated movie ever made.
So there you have it. There are our top 10 movies of both animation and live action from this almost 3-year journey. Yep, that's what they're asking for. Eddie, what are some lessons learned, life lessons that we have learned through this season of our life, through these movies?
I'm going to start with the one that I feel like is, we just got to get it out of the way because we've said it so many times here as we went through our top 10 kind of ad nauseum, but like the need for a strong villain. We said it a lot, but just straightforward life lessons learned. You see movies that are better are the ones that you just have a really good, strong villain. Yep. You're not trying to overcomplicate that. You've just got a really good, strong villain that creates that conflict, that pushes the drama forward and builds the tension along the way. Just like constantly building that tension. It gives you good drama. Gives you great story. So for me, that was one of the big things that I think heading into this, I wasn't ready for that to be a reoccurring theme of things that we talked about, but it definitely was one as we went through these 104 movies, was a reoccurring theme. The better the villain, the better the movie.
I mean, speaking of villains, I think it should just go with the fact that for me, what I learned was I now have empathy for a people group that I just was not aware that I needed to have empathy for, because I had some really deep prejudice against a group of people, and that's wolves. Like, I was under the impression that they were out there hunting human beings out in the tundra, out in the wilderness. And no, White Fang and the research on White Fang taught me that they don't hunt people. They don't actually kill people. Actually, this movie taught me the opposite. And I had to like bring that up. Like they're not going to come after us. They're not evil. I just want people to know out there, wolves don't harm people. Very few wolf attacks ever. So I just want to make sure, I know it's been a long time. I want to make sure our listeners, new listeners now who didn't listen to White Fang and hear my soapbox, know wolves don't harm people.
And what's crazy is that is like a common thing that keeps popping up in a lot of Disney movies. And not even just these, like Frozen uses it twice, right? In Frozen and then in one of the Frozen shorts. Like
even in
the
our
main
Beauty and the
thing
Beast,
is that.
It's the downside of Beauty and the Beast is those wolves.
Well, maybe
People
that is. Maybe
don't understand.
Maybe we just found the one and only flaw in all of
maybe
Beauty
we should
and the
redo our
Beast.
rankings now. Maybe we should drop it down a little bit. But
no, honestly, I think we need to go make the Wolf Highway that was pitched to CJ Craig
in West Wing. Yes,
we need to crowdfund the Wolf's Highway so that they can do that.
While we're talking about
animals,
that, while we're talking about West Wing real quick, that is also my other next thing is there's a lot of West Wing actors and actresses all over this. Almost every film had some Kevin Bacon 7 degrees of separation from West Wing. Just wanted to say that almost every film had some connection to West Wing out there. It's crazy.
That should be our new like game, instead of like 6 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon, like just constantly play 6 degrees of separation from West Wing.
Or just in the West Wing. Yes, this was in the West, this person made it in the West Wing.
When my internet failed last night, what did I do? I pulled out my West Wing DVD box set and boom, we hopped in and started watching some more West Wing last night. Cause why not? You were speaking of wolves, and I think another life lesson learned here in regards to animals: don't put people in animal suits. Use real animals. And I gotta say, I think the funniest moment in this whole journey, and I don't think you and I have laughed so hard, maybe in all of our friendship, was the gorilla suit in Shipwrecked.
It's still I still wake up sometimes and just go, that's on my mind, is that gorilla suit and how bad it was. And it was amazing because then they went on a great stretch where it's like they learned from that moment. And they used live animals for like even live groundhogs, I'm pretty sure at one point.
Yeah.
It was insane. And but yes, no, that movie, that gorilla was the worst, even still worse than George of the Jungle. Somehow still worse than George of the Jungle. I don't know.
George of the Jungle is pretty bad, but yeah. Well, I think like George of the Jungle, they knew they were being kind of campy with the gorilla suits. Shipwreck, like they were really trying to pass this off as a real gorilla, and it's like, no, it's about as bad as the baby in American Sniper. Do you remember that scene?
Yes.
Yeah, we all know that's not a baby there. So, any other life lessons, JB, that we have picked up along the way?
Yeah, just don't rely on IMDb for any descriptions. They're almost always the worst.
I can only, like, maybe a handful of times did we ever go, yeah, that's pretty good. I agree with that.
Yeah.
What a horrible job, right? To sit there all day and be like, how can I summarize this in one sentence?
And to do it poorly over and over and over again.
Yeah. But I love watching, if I can draw your attention, they will do like phrasal descriptions on Disney Plus, like max 5 words. I don't know whose job it was to write all of those, but it's like, we can't even do a sentence description. Like we're like 3 to 5 words is all you're giving these.
I'm waiting for them to just be emojis. Guess the title of this movie by the emojis descriptions.
That's a talk show game. I've seen that on a couple of talk shows where they play all of that. So.
It's a lot of fun.
I think we were both jumping into it. We've watched 104 movies. Can I just say that again?
Yep.
We've watched 104 movies. Give me your most underrated and your most overrated. I have a feeling they may be the same ones, but let me hear yours.
Underrated film. I was going to go with A Bug's Life, but we all liked that movie. We just didn't know how much we liked it. And I'm still going with Dinosaur. I'm still a little shook how emotionally invested I was in that film. I know we didn't necessarily give it like an amazing grade, and part of that is due to the animation style. But that story, man, it was compelling. The narrative of that and the arc for the villain in the middle, like they really took their time to tell a really engaging story, and I was hooked from the beginning. It was so underrated. I don't know why this movie isn't talked about more as like a classic. Like, hey, this is like a cult classic at the very least. Like, because it was one of the first like fully 3D animation films that they had done. So that is my underrated. What was your underrated?
Yeah, I think the first one I wrote down was Dinosaur. And I agree with everything you said. My kids have asked to watch it a couple times since we reviewed it. Luce has particularly really loved it. I think it would have gone over much better if they hadn't tried to jump into the whole CGI stuff so quickly. Like they weren't ready for it. I think if you would have just gone a classic animated style, the story is so good. It's so well done. Yeah, underrated. But since you already mentioned that one, another one I would throw out there just for me, Brother Bear. I really enjoyed Brother Bear. I think it's got some really great moments.
You love the moose.
I love the moose. There's just some really great, sweet, tender moments. It definitely falls apart. There's some moments where I'm like, okay, I get it. But for me, like it was a surprise one for me where I'm like, I enjoy this way more than I thought I would have. So for me, those would be like my two biggest underrated ones.
My overrated film, I kind of went back and forth. I'm not going to push that button, Eddie. I'm not going to push. I'm going to make sure that you continue to have an enjoyable time on this podcast. So I'm not going to go after you for one of your Mount Rushmore movies, but
it's got it. When we say overrated, we're saying like, not just for me, but like in general,
exactly.
People overrate it. And I would say Tarzan does not get the love it deserves. Like it is not.
There's not a large following for Tarzan beyond you. So that makes sense. No, I'm honestly going to have to go with A Muppet Christmas Carol. People love this film. It's like when you say, what's your favorite Muppet movie? People put this at the top of the list. The music is not good. I can't think of a single song right now from it. It wasn't even bad enough to be rememberable bad. That's how bad the music in this was. And most of the jokes in it were hard to watch, like not funny. And the only really redeeming quality of probably the entire film for me is the only person playing it straight, and that's Michael Caine. Like he's the best part of this film, but he's holding it all by himself. And I think because so many people say they love this film, it's their favorite Muppet film, that is why I'm going overrated.
I am not going to make any comment. I'm just going to let you be alone in that.
In the hatred.
My overrated, I'm going to go bold as well. I'm going to say The Little Mermaid. I think it is just I don't think it deserves the credit that everybody gives it. Yes. Like when you sent that to me, I was just like, yeah, like I don't disagree with anything he's saying right now.
She is so whiny.
The songs.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. There's a couple like Under the Sea and Kiss the Girl. Those are really catchy. Those are really fun tunes.
Those are great.
But it doesn't like redeem. There's clever lyrics in it, but like Part of Your World. Oh my gosh. If I have to hear that like one more time, anytime it comes up, we're listening to like a Disney playlist with the kids or whatever, and Part of Your World comes on, it gets skipped. No, thank you.
And what's sad is that Ursula is so good, and there are great characters in it, but the base storyline of a rich little girl wanting something she can't have, going after and sacrificing her soul for
everything. Yes.
For a dude, and ends up for a dude that doesn't even see her, even though she's right in front of him, and he's aloof the entire freaking time, looking for something else. It's like you two almost are meant for each other because you don't even see. I don't understand it. It's the central storyline is bad. I'm just gonna say that it's bad.
Yeah, it's so overrated for me. So there we go. We've just made enemies with quite a lot of people there, but there they are. Okay, I love that you included this one, and any longtime listeners will know both JB and I are suckers for a good montage. Montage. We love a good montage. So JB, what is your favorite montage?
I am saying mine because I just love to hate it so much, and I can't think of any other montage that we have watched right now, because literally I tried to think of other ones, and this one was seared into my brain, and it's Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken with the lightning bolt. When you think of intense 90s montages, training sessions, Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken is at the top of the list. It's the first one, and it's the best part of that film by far. And shout out to your mom for Nancy for how much she loves that film.
Remind you, my mom bought the movie and we watched it, mailed the DVD back and forth because it's not available on Disney Plus.
Right.
And then she's kept it. I do love. Love's too strong. I do really like that movie. It's also because we watched it quite a lot growing up. That's a really good one. I will give you that one. My best montage will go towards any montage training sequence in any of the Mighty Ducks movies.
Oh, so good.
So good. They just bring it all together. There's so many. And I think like at least the first two, I think have two strong montage sequences in them. So it's like Mighty Ducks for me just like takes the trophy for montages. You pick one, I love it. But I'll give them the Mighty Ducks montages as my favorite montage.
Well, everybody's been wondering. There we go. That's all of the things that we have learned from our trip through our childhood, 1988 to 2005, all the movies that released. And Eddie, people have been dying to know.
104 movies, over 182 hours of content.
What are we going to do after that? Like, how can we top this, Eddie? People have been asking. My wife was really wanting to know. I haven't even told her yet. You didn't set it up right. You have to ask the Jed Bartlett question. What is Jed's question of questions repeated over, hundreds of times in all these episodes? What's next?
Yes, people have been asking. You haven't even told your wife what we're doing.
Nope. She's going to find out while she's listening to this episode, and I'll probably get a text message right after it. So what are we doing, Eddie? What's next?
Should we say it? I think maybe we should just save it for next week. Let's just launch the next episode with what we're doing next.
Well, now I'm getting annoyed how long you're taking to set this up because I'm ready to go watch Ahsoka now. I'm literally waiting to get done with this episode because we had to re-record it to go watch 2 episodes of Ahsoka. So let's get it out of the way. Let's do it.
We are going to go back to the beginning. beginning with the very first of Walt Disney animation, or at least what they're well known for, and that is with Mickey Mouse. We're going to start with Steamboat Willie, the cartoons that made, go through Snow White. We're going to hit every single animated film that Walt Disney Animation Studios created, from Snow White up to The Little Mermaid. And then along the way, we are going to grab some of the key live action movies. Of course, there were a lot. Like, Disney kind of went crazy on some of these that were a little crazy and weird. They don't even have them out there on Disney Plus. But we're going to grab some of the really big ones that either had a impact on the film industry, or maybe also had a large impact on the parks. For example, we're going to watch one of the Davy Crockett movies. Not really remembered as one of the greatest, but we have an entire land at Disneyland because Disney made Davy Crockett, right? So we're going to kind of hit some of those live action ones. Of course, we're going to go to what I would say is the greatest Disney movie, and that is Mary Poppins. Of course, we will hit Mary Poppins along the way and all of those things. So that is what we are doing next.
It's going to be a wild ride. We'll see if it takes us 3 years, 2 years, 10 years. Who knows? Maybe we'll have 3 more kids in the meantime, although it's very, very unlikely to happen.
It is less movies. I think we put about 55 some movies on this next list. So we are not going as big, as crazy, but we will hit quite a few.
Okay, let's do it. Next week, you're going to have the next one ready for you when we come back next week with the next challenge.
And with that, your life has been forever changed by yet another episode of Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast.
Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your other favorite podcasts. And while you're there, please leave us a 5-star review or share it with your best friend.
You can also check us out at honeywemade.com, where you can see the reviews of every Disney movie made from 1988 to 2005, better known as our childhood. And be sure to tune in next week as we begin our next challenge with a review of the classic Mickey cartoons like Steamboat Willie.
Thank you for listening, and remember, wolves don't kill humans.